Very warm welcome to day 5 of the Job Reset Festival, which will hopefully give you guys a taster of how Henley programs can help you rethink, rewire, and how you can get some tools to um, help you with our current times in terms of how the world of work is changing. Let's start with you. Which programs at Henley did you do, and what was your experience out of studying on these programs?
So I did the certificate in business management practice. And for me, having not attended a formal institution after high school, it was a bit of a, okay, what am I going to experience? How is this going to go? Will I get the support that I need? Um, will the family, work-life balance, family, will all of that balance come into play? How is it all going to pan out? And I must say, the experience from the beginning in terms of just attending the information sessions at the campus and just the engagement with the staff at Henley, it was very warm, very welcoming. My family as well, when they attended the open day as well, they just felt like, wow, mommy, it's so amazing. I mean, even when we drive by, the kids are like, mommy, there's your school. So it was a very inviting environment, and yeah, the support throughout the program was just really amazing. I never felt that um, I was straining myself in terms of the studying versus working. So it was really just amazing. It was a wonderful journey.
Thank you, Claudia, for sharing that. And it's so unfortunate now that with the lockdown, not driving much, to see that campus on the left side.
Yeah.
But through our family-friendly initiatives, I've had the privilege to meet your family as well and your children. Tell me, I mean, I can see here that you're a very holistic person.
Yes.
In terms of your personal growth, how have your studies contributed to that?
Oh, wow. The first aha moment or the first breakthrough was with Charles Henderson in our first block. So I guess he set the tone in terms of how the personal mastery sessions were going to go, that you're not going to come in and it's all airy-fairy. You just deal with the surface layer of how you show up. You really needed to do a deep dive, do a proper deep reflection and analysis of yourself, and also deal with how your environment or the people that you're engaging with also contribute to how you deal with yourself. So for me, it just opened up a part of me that I wasn't ready to deal with. And I guess coming into the class, because we had to truly be our true self in order to gain the value of the knowledge that you'll be learning. I learned the importance of owning my story and telling my story and how I showed up, how I interacted with my kids, because I have 2 girls, and being a first-time mommy, I don't have a manual in terms of how to be a mom or anything like that. So the nuggets of knowledge and the gems that I took out of the personal mastery sessions and classes really made a huge impact on my life. And I managed to apply those gems as well in my life, how I interact with my friends and my family. So I'd have to personally say the personal mastery classes have made a really big difference. The person that I was when I started is totally different to how I am now.
Wow, Claudia, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I can even speak or echo what you've said, as Henley staff member and student, that we're encouraged to bring our full selves, to
Yeah.
where we are, and um, personal mastery is a big, big, big piece at Henley. I mean, you will learn the content, and you will learn the technical stuff. But at the end of the day, you lead people. And that's a
Yes.
big takeaway that I get from that
Yeah.
of just share. And what I want to ask you, I just want to marry it here with what you shared in your profile, that um, you're accustomed to the rigors of a fast-paced and highly regulated environment. And personally, from working in the space where we're working from home, I can tell you that in the past year, it's been super, super, super fast paced.
Mm.
And I just wanted to ask you, what skills have you learned? Just one, two, three nuggets that you've learned that you believe have made you better prepared for this so-called new world of work.
Okay, so I learned in a team dynamic. So we got put into groups, and we had to identify nonprofit organizations in the process and how to apply the technical stuff that we were learning to make their space more effective, more efficient. So first part I had to learn, even though I've been working for the longest of time, but working with people that I don't know, I don't have any history with, um, that was a dynamic for me to get me out of my comfort zone. And then the next dynamic was how we could apply and assist an organization to find a new way of work. So one of the solutions that we provided for them, because they were dependent on, just people coming to their space. Now, because of the whole COVID situation, people they had to think out of the box. So we needed to find methods of getting them to think out of the box. So we needed to just get them geared up in terms of the new way of being online and tech savvy, and also just the art of collaboration, because now there's different personalities in the team. We had to learn each other, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and how to leverage off of all of those aspects. So those were some of the learnings that I picked up from this journey.
Sure, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Claudia. We learn every day. Hey, learning never stops, clearly.
Yeah,
Even
it doesn't.
you just keep going. And before I just wrap up my interview with you, I just want to say to the people that are struggling with sound, perhaps log out and log in again. Graham, if you have any ideas how we can help those struggling with sound, please do put it in the chat. I have sound, some no sound, it's muted. Um, so yeah, please just try log out and log in again, and then let's see if you'll be successful with that. And then another thing that I just want to say is we have set up this session as a classroom. So if I can ask you to please keep muted unless if you have the opportunity to speak. So please just try keep your mic unmute. Thank you very much. So Claudia, and to the audience, if you want to ask Claudia anything before I wrap up with her, please do put it in the chat. From me, one more question. What advice would you give to someone who is currently researching similar programs to Henley? Why Henley? And why do you think they should study with us in this current setting where we're delivering our classes remotely?
So for me, it was just the inclusion of a family, and just the support. So let me put it like this. So on the side of family, like my family, from the beginning, before I stepped into class, they were made to feel to be part of the whole experience of what I would be going through, how they would also benefit from it. So for me, the first part is just the family, like the balance was there. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, now I have to split myself and do multiple things. And oh my gosh, if I don't make it here, like I wasn't empowered enough or comfortable enough to come back to the institution to say, guys, these are the challenges that I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling emotionally. Like the support throughout all of my challenges was there from the onset. So for me, Henley, I haven't experienced other business schools, so I guess just getting the feedback or input of how other people were experiencing other business schools was totally different to mine. For me, the whole part of being holistic and being present and me first reflecting on self and how I'm contributing back was the whole part that made the whole experience and the journey with Henley very fruitful and beneficial for me. And like I said, the personal mastery sessions for me just set the tone in terms of what the whole program and the whole journey was going to be like. So I would say if someone was speaking to me, that's literally what I've been telling my friends, like, wow, Henley is really amazing. This is the journey that I'm experiencing, the assignments as well, even though I have challenges of writing pages and pages of work, but I never, when I had to do it, I just had to go back to what was the experience when I was in class, even though it was online, it wasn't that completely disconnected because the sessions were engaging, the lecturers are very informed. You were made to feel that your opinion and what you were putting forward also mattered, and you got the opportunity to dissect to a level where you actually got to understand what it is that you were saying. And the support, I mean, from the background team was truly amazing. I mean, I have to confess, there were moments where I had to submit my assignment 1 minute to the point, and the support there was just really amazing. So for me, the what I'll take away from what I've learned is just the personal mastery and self-reflecting, and how my family got to be part of the journey. Whatever I was learning, I was able to share it with them.
Wow, Claudia, that's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think one thing you mentioned as well speaks to what our Dean, John Foster Pedley, always says, that it's not about the corner office qualification, it's over and above what your qualification does for you. It's also about how you pay it forward,
Yeah,
that you dream of. So
yeah.
thank you so much, Claudia. There's a very interesting question from Sandile Dube. If you don't mind taking that. Sandile says, hello, Claudia. Where have you applied what you've learned and what has been the result?
So what I've learned, like I said in the beginning, was the personal mastery, just the self-reflection, and how to show up. And if I'm faced with a conflict, um, just to like take a step back and ask myself, like, why am I reacting the way that I'm reacting? Why is it bothering me the way that it's bothering before I come forward and answer? There was also an exercise that we did that was the listening part, because what I learned was that we're so quick to, when a person asks a question or when a person is talking, to interject immediately before they've even finished, because we're just in that constant of like, okay, this person is talking, I need to respond, and not actually sitting quietly and actually just shutting your mouth and listening attentively to what this person is saying with no facial expression, and just listening and understanding what this person is saying before you actually respond, and actually responding in a way to say, okay, if I'm understanding, this is what you're saying, am I understanding it correctly before you actually respond? So I started applying that method with my daughters. So every single time where there's like a tantrum, it's not perfect all the time, but every time that there's like a tantrum or someone has something that is troubling in the day, then I first like, okay, so what are you actually saying? What am I understanding correctly what it is that you're saying? And yeah, just respond based on that. And also the personal mastery, the self-reflection, introspection, like, okay, why am I dealing with things in a certain way? What can I do to change the situation? How can I show up better? Or what is it exactly that I need to do or empower myself to make the situation better? So yeah, I mean, I guess I could get my girls to say, okay, mommy, this because she's done this, it has worked. But I guess the result is in how we've started to engage in the household with each other. So yeah,
Seek
I hope
first to
that
understand,
answers the question.
to be understood. Thank you so much, Claudia.
Thank you.
Going on to the second part of the session, I would like to bring on board our head of department for the undergraduate portfolio, Ms. Rashika Pederith. Rashika, her and I met at another business school, so we come a long way. And here we are at Henley, and she's been on our faculty and has pioneered our higher certificates in management practice and our advanced certificates in management practice. She's got a lot of stories, a lot of experiences, a lot of memories, and moments shared with her students. And just recently, she has just joined us as head of department for the undergraduate portfolio. Rashika, are you there?
I am. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good at you.
Very well, thank you. Looking very beautiful this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rashika, future world of work. What's up? Why future world of work? Why new world of work? What's the difference? Why should we worry? Why should we be concerned? What's on your mind about this whole philosophy?
I think globally, if we think about the year that we've just had, everybody is really trying to just find their way in terms of what does this mean for us? What does it mean for our future? And obviously, all of us need to be thinking about what does it mean for us in terms of our work future. But I want to take us a step back. I want us to understand what does the world of work mean or the world of work entail before we start talking about the future world of work. And sort of from a definition perspective, the world of work is basically made up of three components. It's about the work itself, which is what is being done. It's about the workforce in terms of who's doing it. And it's about the workplace in terms of where it is being done. And so if you think about these three components, this is the core of what makes up the world of work. And if we're thinking about what the future of those three components are, it's incredibly dynamic for many, many reasons. And I mean, we all know there's a whole lot of stuff going. The world is completely changing from a technology perspective. The pandemic has shown us what technology can, I mean, look at us. We wouldn't be having this online if it wasn't for the pandemic. We literally would be at Henley eating lovely food, chatting to each other and hugging. And technology has actually sort of forced us and pushed us into thinking about how we work very differently and in new ways. There are also other things. I mean, our economy has become incredibly global. Parts of it has become incredibly local. There's also stuff in terms of being able to manage operations, generational shifts in the workplace. So there's a lot of flux from many different perspectives that impact those three components. And what we need to do as individuals, the country, as a continent, and probably as a globe, is think about how best do we leverage those three components to suit us. So where might what's going on from a workforce, and workplace actually benefit me? And for me to be able to do that, I actually need to know what the future world of work is like. So the world of work and the future world of work is dynamic, it is changing. And us at Henley, we are working incredibly hard to be on top of it so that we can provide the best for our delegates in terms of them being on top of it. And a big part of that is actually being able to think about what is my job? How do I reset myself, reset my skills? That's an important word. How do I reset my skills so that I'm viable for the new world of work?
Rashika, given what you're saying, it just sounds like every day there's a new thing, you know. So will we ever even catch up with our skills, you know? Goodness. And I know Cami will cover this in her class on change, you know, and VUCA, you know, and this complex world we live in. But how do we keep up? You know, today you need the skill, tomorrow you need that, you know.
Yeah. So, I think that from today's discussion, there's so much that you're going to be learning from our faculty in a little bit. But I think that one of the core things that you should actually just keep front of your mind, sort of whoever you are and what you're thinking about from this world of work perspective, is that if you're wanting to know how to survive in the future world of work, how to be relevant 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, before we used to be told about how you need to be able to get a profession. And if you were in HR, if you were a dentist, if you were a teacher, you're good to go. The future world of work is proving that that's actually not what it's about. That might be a component of what you need to be relevant. What is even more critical in the future world of work are specific kind of skills. The skill to be analytical, the skill to actually solve problems, the skill to be confident enough to make decisions. And it's about being able to allow yourself to learn those skills that is actually going to hold you in good stead. And I often say that a space like university, our core purpose as a university is to teach you how to think. 10 years from now, you might not remember all the fancy theories and all of the stuff that we would have done in class, but how we made you think about those things is that skill that we want to learn. And so we have begun to embed other things that are going to be important future world of learn? How do we make you think analytically? How do we make you think from a computational perspective? How do we make you think from a decisional perspective to actually aid you, to give you those skills that are going to hold you in terms of the future, in terms of the future world of work?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rashika, for demystifying that. At Henley, I mean, yes, management practice is something that's on our tongues, and we say it all the time without even thinking about it. Higher certificates in management practice, that diploma in management practice, postgraduate, management practice, is our operating word. What is management practice, and is it a skill, um,
So that is an incredibly important question, precisely in the conversation that we're having today. And for everybody that's online, I think that it's incredibly important as you're shopping for schools and you're thinking about where you want to further your education. It is incredibly important to understand that when we talk about business schools, we often talk about our qualifications being in management practice. And management practice, if you really bring it down to first principles, it's about being able to it's about literally being able to be in a space and get things done. We come from a country where we have, and I used to work in government, we come from a country where we have plan after plan after plan and plan about implementation about a plan, but we're not doing. And so what management practice does is it focuses on, if you are running a business, if you are running an NPO, if you are in a government department, how do you actually use all the skills that I spoke about earlier to be able to get you to do? That's really the essence in the management practice. It's about how do we actually move our businesses forward in terms of being able to do.
Thank you so much, Rashika, for that. And I mean, I can relate because my undergrad is in public management and governance. And yes, see, I can tell you now, we've got the best policies, and it's planning, policy this, policy that, but come into implementation, it's a different story. So I just want us to just break it down a bit before we move on to the next segment of our session. The undergraduate portfolio consists of the higher certificates, the advanced certificates, and the advanced diploma in management practice. So can you just for in layman's terms, how does a Henley qualification work? And I know we always refer to NCAF 5, NCAF 6, NCAF, and for me, when I'm shopping for a program, I'm not looking for NCAF this, that, and the other. I'm looking for a solution, to how I can capacitate myself. So can you please unpack that for us a bit?
Absolutely. So our dean often talks about what he calls the white space. And the white space is a large part of the South African population that have never had the opportunity to get a degree. So we have a big part of our adult population that find themselves in the workplace or unemployed and would have had matric, but would not have studied further or would have studied further to some degree or the other. And so I know when we think of business schools, we often think of business schools in terms of MBAs. What Henley has done is we have actually created an entire ladder of learning. So if you are someone that has a matric and has some work experience, you are actually more than welcome to start your education with us at Henley. If you are someone that has studied along the way, you have a conversation with us and we'll find out what qualifications you have, where you fit on our ladder of learning, and what your next steps are, all towards getting that MBA. But let me take a step back and focus on the undergrad component. Like I said, business school is not necessarily known for its undergrad teaching, but at Henley, in terms of our ladder of learning, we have 3 components or 3 qualifications that help you get a degree equivalent. And by South Africa standards, it's NCAF 5, 6, 7. I would say to the guys, don't worry too much about that. What I think you should think about is, first of all, the most important thing is, do I want a qualification? The second thing is, do I want a qualification from a business school that focuses on management practice? And we are the first ones at Henley to say that we don't actually mind where you're studying. For us, it's important that Africans are studying. We're going to leapfrog into with this century, and it's going to happen through our education. So as long as you're studying, it's important. But then the next question you need to ask yourself is, am I just learning a skill to know something? Or do I want a qualification that is accredited, that's going to help me build my education? And if that's what you're looking for, then this is why you'd want to consider our undergrad qualifications. Our NQF 5 is a qualification that you qualify for if you have matric and a little bit of management experience. And then it builds on from that. If you have the equivalent of an NQF 5, you can do an NQF 6 and then an NQF 7, which then gets you to a postgraduate. But my overarching statement to everyone is don't let the drama trouble you. Ask yourself some key questions. Do I want to study? Is it in management practice? And if it is that, how do I want to go about that? So the example I always use is, do you only want to learn how to code, or do you want an accredited qualification? And once you answer those questions, please make contact with us. We like speaking to you directly. Our details are all on the website, and I'm sure we'll put up our emails and our numbers and stuff as well. And please come and chat to us about what that ladder might be for you. I see there's one or two questions. Should I take them?
Yes, there's one in particular. Yeah, there's quite a few. So yes, we can take them before we move on.
Okay, I'm seeing one. So you tell me there's others.
I like this one from Rachel. Rachel says, what new skills can you acquire to move or advance from office management?
What new skills can you acquire to move or advance from office management? Office management is a very important thing. So when we talk about the future world of work, we often used to say, we had the Industrial Revolution. It was blue collar workers who found themselves being ousted by automation. Now with bots and with AI and stuff like that, it's white collar workers that are finding themselves being ousted by automation. In fact, the Davos report speaks about 30% of white collar workforce being automated by 2030. And I think one of the key things that we teach at Henley is that the robots can do stuff and they can do it very well, and they can do it effectively. What they can't do is be human. And so a core of our philosophy is the best thing to be able to do your best leader is to be the best human that you can be. And if you're thinking about moving out of office management, either into doing and becoming a farmer or into being the CEO, whatever that might be, our focus to you is to focus on being the best human that you can be, because that gives you an edge over any kind of computer. I hope that helps you a little bit, Rachel, because I think, yeah, and I would like to chat to you about what you meant by the office management, but maybe we can take this offline or secretly in the chat.
Cool. Thank you so much, Rashika. And Sandile is just on a roll here. He says, Rashika, you mentioned the future. How far ahead is the future? I really love that question because I'm as confused.
So you know, how far is the future is how long is a piece of string. Sandile, I'm an urban planner by profession. And so when we talk about Chinese urban planning and Indian urban planning, they create 300-year plans for their cities. We've got 5-year plans for our cities. So when you're thinking about how far the future is, it really is relative and it really is up to you. And there's great insight in that, because if you're thinking about creating a legacy business for your grandchildren, you really want to think about what will still be relevant in 300 years' time. And what do you want to do for them? If you're thinking about stepping out of your current space, you got to take that step and think about, what do I need to do for the next year, the next 5 years to be able to get me there? So the future is, yeah, it's how long is a piece of string.
Sure. Relative, hey? Very, very relative. I mean, in our current systems thinking class and strategy, we always talk about multiple perspectives. Yeah, I mean, 300 years, 5 years in terms of what South Africa's government is doing. Yeah, but let's not go further because that will raise a can of worms. Eliana, how is the Henley brand outside of South Africa? I think that is very, very important for us to cover. How's the Henley brand outside of South Africa, Rashika?
I think you can help me answer that question. I mean, Henley is an international business school. We are part of the University of Reading. We have 6 campuses across the globe. And from an MBA perspective, whether you study the MBA, you can attend a class in South Africa and a class in Germany and Finland. The curriculum is completely standardized, so your qualification is an international qualification. Our undergrad qualifications is specific to South Africa. We have aligned it to our NQF system, which is the South African standard. And so it is accredited from a South African perspective. But what you do need to know is the moment you join Henley, you automatically become part of our international alumni. And that just gives you access to a network that is second to none. We have some of our alumni telling us amazing stories about how just because they were in a particular kind of class, they got access to people in Ghana that were in a different kind of class that was at Henley 4 or 5 years ago, and they're now doing business. So the network that Henley gives you is just, it literally is global, and it is phenomenal. Mamu, you want to add to that?
Yeah, indeed, Rashika. It is indeed global in its true sense. We are triple accredited, which means that we are in the top 1% of business schools globally. We get checked by these bodies, and we are also part of associations that help us think about how much impact and how relevant we are as a business school, because you can't really teach education, business education, without understanding how business works. In terms of our alumni as well, we've got various chapters across the country. We do have an internal Henley site where students can interact with other students from different countries. So you go into the site, there's a map, and you can literally click, okay, I need to meet someone in Malta, and we can help you do that. So we truly are a global, international, triple accredited business school. And I mean, it's not even about the accolades, but we really and truly strive towards excellence every day of our lives. So with that said, I would like us to just engage more before we go into the next session of our open class. Rashika, thank you very much for that.
So what I wanted to point out is that when we think of managing our careers, you've always need to think about it in these 4 areas. You've got to understand the context that you're in. You've got to be clear about your personal values and where you are right now in your life, that this is consistently changing. You've got to always understand, what does the market need? So what do I mean? The market in terms of companies, employers, and if you're in business, your customers. And then as you look at this and you look at yourself and where you want to go in your career, you've got to look at your skills. You've got to ask yourself, do I have the right skills to meet the needs of the market? And if I don't, do I need to go step out and reskill myself? Am I clear about what are my personal values right now? So for those of you who were in my session, I spoke about when I started off, I knew that I wanted to be a CEO. I was very ambitious, and most of my goals were monetary focused. But later it changed. And so with that, the choices I made and the pivots I made in my career always considered the context, my personal values, and the market needs. And so it's a continuous process. So when I started, I entered corporate. I wanted to be a CEO. I was a Bachelor of Science student. But guess what? Because I was in the corporate environment, I went and did a diploma in economic studies in order to ensure that I had the right skills to survive. And continuously, as my career went, I constantly relooked everything and things changed. So this is a tool that you can use for yourself to say, what do I need to think about as I need to position myself for the future world of work or the next world of work? And so for me, I'll just summarize with this last one, is that what I've learned in order to position yourself for whatever's coming is that you've got to plan, you've got to be inquisitive, you've got to be open to failure, you've got to be willing to learn. You have to be agile and, of course, customer-centric, and value your peer network. So I'll end over there. And Mamo, thank you for allowing me to finish off.
Thanks so much, Nawazi. Thank you. Rashika?
Fantastic. Thanks, Knox. It's wonderful to see you in action like that. And at least everybody else got a little bit of a snippet of what was happening in the other class. And so this actually brings us to a component where we actually want you to share a little bit of what you've learned with us. It is a very core part of our Henley philosophy. We at Henley believe that each one needs to teach one. And in fact, because we are on the African continent, you are very privileged if you find yourself in a space like this, if you find yourself getting an education like this. So we always say that it's your job to be able to teach many. We also say that there's one way in which you know that you understand a concept, and you understand a concept if you are able to actually teach the concept. So in the spirit of what has actually happened today, people in the room have had the experience of one of our facilitators. So what we'd like you to do is we'd like the people who were in those different rooms to share a little bit about what they discussed or what they experienced, so that people that were not in those rooms can get an understanding of that too. And that is basically bringing you into our Henley world. And we'd like to think making you a little bit Henley-fied through that process. So shall we start with the group one? My understanding was that group one was the group with Kemi, where you spoke about the concept of systems thinking. Is there anyone that was in that group that will please share a little bit about what happened in that group, what you guys spoke about, and what stood out for you? And this is very, very key to our Henley way, which is where our philosophy is that the knowledge doesn't sit here with us as faculty. The knowledge sits in the room with everybody. So please don't feel shy. It is a learning environment. It is an environment where we have to be comfortable with becoming vulnerable and with sharing with each other. So put yourself out there and share a little bit with us. Can I ask who was in the group one and who would be wanting to share what happened in your discussion? Hey, that's a beautiful statement. I think you need to share a little bit with us.
Hello everyone. Yeah, so it was very interesting because I read the book, The Fifth Discipline, and it speaks about systems thinking, but I think what Kemi did was she kind of gave the head knowledge from the book, and because I was like, what am I going to do with the book now? It doesn't make any sense. But now after these few minutes, somebody actually took it and made it real, and also she gave an African context example, so it even made it even better and more clear. So it was good.
Fantastic. So Faith, if someone in our room had to say, Faith, what is your understanding now of systems thinking? What will you say to that person?
Always think big picture, think context, think domino effect, basically. That one thing doesn't just, your one action or one thing affects many things. So you must not just think one way, think not only in your own head as you see things, but it's good to see things from a different point of view.
Fabulous. And what did you think of the time that you spent with Kemi?
It was very nice. I like her. She's very informative.
Kemi is very likable, and the people who spend time in her class never ever leave Kemi. Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. Was there someone else who was in Kemi's group who would like to just sort of share something and say something in the spirit of all of us, each one teach many?
Yes, it's Cecilia speaking. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can, Cecilia. Go ahead.
Tammy was fabulous. She was like really insightful. And in her taking us through the systems thinking, it made me think about a problem that we're going through at work at the moment, where, like many businesses, we've got business interruptions. And as a result, we've had to set up new ventures within the company. And the expectation is that the other divisions within the company would be supportive and buy into these new business ventures that have been formed in order to create this vertical income structure or revenue structure. And it's been troubling me and a few of us on the management team in terms of there's buy-in in some part of the business, but there is no buy-in in others. And it's been troubling me to say, like, where is the big picture? Like, what is wrong with these people? They can see like there's a, like there's trouble ahead, and like we have to like adapt, and we have to change and find new revenue streams as a business. Why can't they see that? And I think like Tammy's, I don't know, Tammy, I think it was like 10 minutes you took us through the session. It was just like very insightful in terms of my needs, and I suppose like I'm going to go back to a team, like stepping back and actually like looking at the problem from multiple angles and considering not only like my initial reaction, which was Cammy's process about react, anticipate, design, and transform, and just like go deeper in terms of the problem. And maybe there's a plan, and we think the plan is fantastic, but the fact that there is no buy-in across the organization clearly indicates that we haven't worked through those multiple layers of the issue. So thank you, Cammy. I appreciated your insights.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Sounds like it was a wonderful discussion. So I thank you very much for that. Can I ask for someone who was in the group with Lerone to tell us a little bit about what you spoke about? We're very, very interested because you guys spoke money, right? You guys spoke finance. So who was in Lerone's group would share with us so that the rest of us get a sense of what you guys covered in the time that you were together.
Good morning, it's Rachel speaking. Sure, I will share. There's a perception when it comes to finance that it's boring, it's stagnant, it's not fun. That's the perception. However, the way Lerone presented it, he made it fun. He gave us key things there where he said finance is relative, finance is current, finance is agile. And he also did a presentation where we had to look at where are we spending more money now. With working from home, it means now money is spent on household goods. So it broadened and enlightened our perception on how important finance is. We don't have to shy away from it.
Fantastic, fantastic. Dustin, can I ask you to share a little bit about what you experienced in the time you were with Lerone?
Hi, good morning. Yes, thank you. So for me, coming from Zim, it's quite a difficult and complicated environment in terms of having the multi-currency. And what Lerone had basically said is reinforced the strategy which we take in terms of our cash flow. It is quite difficult to measure, but converting it into a singular currency like US dollars, for example, and using that as your base figure to do all of your budgeting and cash flow does help. As I said, it's quite difficult with a moving target when you're trying to convert it back to the local currency. But it is coming from someone like Lerone, it's quite a pat on the back to know that we're doing things right.
Oh, that's fabulous. And that's wonderful to hear. And I think you've touched on something that also happens a lot in class where people go, we've been doing this all along. We just didn't have the term for it. We just didn't know that was okay, what we were doing. So that's wonderful to hear as well. I have to make the comment where all of the delegates who have the benefit of being in Lerone's class often share how much fun they've had. Lerone and his partners do these days on finance, where they completely demystify the concept by taking people out on immersions, and no one sees a balance sheet or a income statement for 2 days, and all they've been talking about is finance. So they've really, really taken this whole concept and made it really, really easy to understand. So if you're looking forward to being in Lerone's class, it's a good thing to look forward to. Let's move on. If you had the privilege of being in Knox's group, as we've just seen a little bit of Knox now, do you want to share with us what your discussion was about?
I'm quite happy to share.
Please go ahead.
I have to say, Nokwazi, absolutely lovely. Such a, I want to say like a young woman with so much wisdom, and she was so refreshing. I mean, I'm in my mid-50s, and I've joined the class this morning to just sort of get an idea on what I should look for, moving forward in my career. And she covered a section on career adaptability, where she sort of mentioned, do you have concerns? Are you in control? Are you curious? And do you have confidence? And I have to say that resonated with me. And more so, I'm actually going to say the confidence section that she covered. And I think that is my barrier. And I'm going to say it's not so much that I don't have the ability, the capability, the skills, etc., to move forward, but I have to actually work on my confidence of going out there and presenting myself. I have the ability, I have the skills, but yeah. Look, I would have to say that, you know, going to the issue with the confidence, it's probably goes down to being retrenched a couple of times. And it has a huge knock-on effect on when you're trying to move forward in the world, you know, and, you know, it's like when you're retrenched and it's actually got nothing to do with your abilities, you know, and your expertise, etc. But, you know, it was just due to financial circumstances. Those things do still actually sort of cling to you, and I'm going to have to try and find a way to brush all of that off. But I would have to say that, you know, this very short, and I'm going to say not long enough session. And I missed the last tile because I lost my Wi-Fi connection. But I can see already, and I recognize what I'm actually going to have to work on. And Nkwazi, thank you. It was lovely, really, really amazing. And you're a breath of fresh air, young lady.
How amazing, how wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And Knox is all that and so much more. She's a stalwart in our community of faculty. And we trust and learn from her so much. So thank you very much for all of that. To all of you, thank you so much for spending your Saturday morning with us. We know that there's so much more that you could have done. From my side, I want to say that what we wanted to do was to just give you a little bit of a snippet, a tiny mini class of what it's like to be in a Henley class, and hopefully make you be excited about learning and be excited about the future, because the future world of work doesn't need to be something daunting. It doesn't need to be something that you don't feel prepared for or something that you don't feel able to be part of. It is an opportunity to be excited, and it's an opportunity to say, oh, you know, what is it that I can offer? What is my value proposition? What can I do in the future? Whether it's 5 years or whether it's 50 years or whether I'm setting something up for my grandchildren. And what we really wanted to do was to give you a little bit of a taster of what Henley has to offer in helping you build that confidence, create that knowledge, think about the future, manage how you think about things, and create the confidence and the competence to actually engage with that future world of work. So from my side, thank you very much. I'm actually going to hand over to Mamu now to conclude properly.
Thank you very much, Rashika. With that said, I would like everyone to just, one more question from our side. So having experienced this morning, what excites you or what inspires you about the new world of work? If you can just share that with us, would be very grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much to our faculty. Thank you so much, Lerone. Thank you, Nawazi. Kemi, thank you very much for joining us this morning and volunteering to give this class on your Saturday morning. We really thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Henley. Thank you, Rashika. Thank you to the entire team. I could take the whole day just to thank the team, because it does really take a whole army of soldiers to put this webinar together. So thank you very much to everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. And goodbye from all of us at Henley.